Hello, good morning.
Okay.
Good morning, good afternoon for everyone. Good morning for us. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Maria Eugenia. I am in charge of the Sales and Marketing Department at Eurotour, and we welcome you to this webinar. Today, the webinar will be in charge of Ms. Jimena Rodriguez, my colleague. So the idea is to share with you information about the highlights of South America. So let's start to share this beautiful information and make a virtual trip around South America. Thanks once again and enjoy it. Jimena, yours.
Thank you. Good morning. Good afternoon for you. Good evening. Almost good evening. How are you? Thanks for all of you to join us on this webinar about South America. The idea today is to, explain you a little about South America, give you an introduction to the highlights you will find in South America in case you will be selling our destination in a traditional program. Of course, South America is much more than this, what we will see today, but the idea is that you can experience today an introduction to the destination. So, we can start. Just to give you a start, South America is a continent with much more countries of the ones that we will see today. The countries of interest in South America and Argentina, Brazil, Peru, Uruguay, Chile, Bolivia, Ecuador. Today we are going to do a focus in Argentina, Brazil, and Peru. How to reach South America from India, in case you are flying from Delhi or Mumbai, just to give you an example. You have different gateways for arrival or departures. You need to consider that if we are going to do a combined program with including Argentina, Brazil, and Peru, for sure you will need to arrange international flights arriving and departing from different cities. This is the idea for you to take advantage of the time. So one idea is that you can arrive to Argentina. Firstly, the first city is Buenos Aires, so your international flight will be arriving to Buenos Aires. And the idea is that the end of the program will be in Brazil, and so the departure to India will be, for example, from Rio de Janeiro. Different airlines arriving to Argentina that you can check the best rates and combinations for you coming from India. Just to give you some examples, for example, in Argentina, you can use KLM, Turkish Airways, Ethiopian, Air France, British. In Brazil, pay attention because there are flights arriving to Sao Paulo City or to Rio de Janeiro City. So in case you will be arriving to Sao Paulo City, just pay attention that probably you will need one night in Sao Paulo. After that, we will be flying to Rio de Janeiro. So in case of Sao Paulo, you have Emirates, Qatar, Turkish, Ethiopia, British. In case of Rio, Air France, British, KLM. And in case of Peru, although normally it's on the middle of our program, so the international departure will be from Brazil, anyway, you can check KLM, Air France, British Airways. This is the airlines you can consider for the international flight to come to South America. In any case, we have an average time of flight, including the stopovers, of 22 hours. Can be more or a little bit less, no less than 20 hours. So it's a long flight we need to consider. So remember, if you arrive to Sao Paulo, we will need to consider one night in Sao Paulo just to give a short city tour on the next morning before continue to the next destination. In this case, will be Rio de Janeiro for sure. So here in the map, what we will see today, Buenos Aires in Argentina as the main port of entry. We will see other cities in Argentina today, but just to give you the image of the cities to where you can arrive in the international flight. Lima in Peru, Sao Paulo, and Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Well, as you all know, we are Eurotour. Our company is based in Buenos Aires, the capital city of Argentina. We can provide you and give you, of course, the assistance of the services in South America. But our main office is in Buenos Aires, but we also have 4 local offices in Buenos Aires and also in Calafate, Ushuaia, and Salta. This is a very important detail because we are also local in other cities in Argentina. So just to recap, any program of South America has the following top destinations. Of course, South America is much more and there are more other destinations, but the top destinations are in Argentina, Buenos Aires and Iguazu. If we have time, we will be adding and including Calafate as another of the top destinations, but sometimes it depends on how many days we have in total. Sometimes it's included or not. And if we have more days, of course, we can add much more. In Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, and I also included Iguazu because Iguazu is a destination we will see now that is combined, Iguazu has a portion in the Brazilian side, and also there is a city in the Argentinian side. I will show you very soon. This is why I add Iguazu as another destination in Brazil. Sao Paulo, that can be added or not, as I explained before. And in Peru, Lima and Cusco as the top destination, but of course, there are other destinations as well. In case of the gastronomy that normally you are very interested in, also the gastronomy in Argentina, if we are visiting Buenos Aires, you will find Indian restaurants. We will be able to offer you Indian restaurants in Buenos Aires. In Calafate and Iguazu, there are no Indian restaurants. In case of Brazil, there are Indian restaurants in Rio de Janeiro, in Peru, in Lima. There's no Indian restaurant in Cusco or in Machu Picchu area. But in any case, don't worry about the gastronomy because in case you need vegetarian menu are also a possibility. Always the restaurant have alternative menus, vegetarian menus for our passengers, so it's not necessary. You just only need to request. And also, there are many restaurants offering buffet meals that are very helpful also to cover the needs of the gastronomy that your passengers can have. So actually, I would like to also, because you know we are in a pandemic time, unfortunately. By the way, I hope all of you are healthy and fine. Because of the COVID, actually, the information actually is that in Argentina, just for you to know, we continue with our borders closed. Only some exceptions are allowed to come into the country. But in case of Brazil, the borders are open. If you arrive by plane, anytime you can arrive to any country. Of course, you need to check the entry requirements because can be some requirements to enter the country, such as a PCR, negative PCR made up to 72 hours before arrival. In case of Brazil, at the moment, there's no quarantine required. And in case of Peru, the borders are partially open, but in case you enter to the country, not only the PCR will be requested, but also you will need to do 14 days quarantine. So I understand that probably is not the right moment to travel, but of course, as happening with all of us, we know we need to wait still a little bit more. So, well, up to here, an introduction to South America in general. So we will continue starting with our first country, Argentina, our country, our nation. Argentina, the capital city is Buenos Aires. Our local language is the Spanish. Regarding the climate, the weather, we have all kinds. So it's very important you check the destination you will be going because depending on the time of the year you come, you will need to pack different clothes just for winter or summertime. It depends on the destination. Here you have an idea of some temperatures, average temperatures in summer or winter. Remember that you can travel to Argentina all year around, even in our low season, which is winter, is sometimes very interesting to come. And the prices are lower and more convenient. So it's always a chance to visit our country in low season and all year around as well. Don't refuse to come on our low season because it's very interesting also. Very important is the visa because the visa is required for Indian people. Well, we are going to start with our first destination in Argentina. Remember that Argentina is a land of contrast. This is like we used to call, because in our country, because of the surface and the location from south to north, many kilometers, is a very long country. So there are many landscapes, many weathers, and this is why we used to call a land of contrast. So you can find in the same country all different landscapes. So it's very interesting, even if you can consider anytime a mono-country program to Argentina, we will for sure offering something very interesting for our passengers. So Buenos Aires is the capital and main city of Argentina. It's a gateway to Argentina, one of our port of entries, as I showed you before, to come to South America. In case of the stay, consider 2 to 3 nights minimum to stay in Buenos Aires, and you can visit all year round. Some of the main tours in Buenos Aires, for sure, a city tour is a must. It's a half day, but you can also do a full day city tour. What I'm going to explain you along this webinar will be what we usually found in the traditional program. So although you can do in a full day, anyway, the city tour is done in a half-day service when we do our program. Maru, can you let me know if you can still hear me, please?
Yes, Jime is run smoothly.
Okay, thank you. Just checking. Thanks. So, well, some of the highlights along the city tour, we have the Casa Rosada in the Spanish name, which is our government house, the Pink House, as usually known also. The main square, Plaza de Mayo, in its Spanish name, is this square over here in front of the building of the government. The obelisk in the downtown of Buenos Aires. This is a very typical postcard of Buenos Aires city. The Colón Theater, many of you already may know that this is a world famous theater around the world. Recoleta Cemetery, the entrance can be included or not. Sometimes we have groups that prefer not to come into the cemetery, but in Buenos Aires, it's really a touristical attraction as well. Some of the landscape we can find in Buenos Aires City, the Congress, our Congress, the Bridge of the Woman, the Puente de la Mujer, as you can see in its Spanish name over here, in Puerto Madero. Puerto Madero is one of the newest neighborhoods in Buenos Aires. Going a little bit outside Buenos Aires City, we can do a Delta boat tour. This is a tour that takes you to Tigre area, another city very close to Buenos Aires, where we can see a different landscape. And it's a very nice tour because we do a boat tour along the rivers in the area. It's a very special area because being so close to Buenos Aires is give you a different landscape, different than the one that you see in Buenos Aires City, because you will be connecting with rivers in the delta of the Paraná. Another tour that is very common to also include in our programs is the Fiesta Gaucha. It's a full day tour where we will visit the countryside of Buenos Aires City. So we can see how is the gaucho, the local gaucho life, learn about the gaucho. We can see the skills, the demonstration of the skills of the gauchos. We can taste a local barbecue. Don't worry if your passengers won't eat meat. Always a vegetarian menu will be included, but a very traditional thing is when you visit any local ranch, you taste some of you taste a local barbecue as well. There are many estancias, many ranch around near Buenos Aires. Depending on the ranch, the service will be with more services or not, and will be private or more massive. Normally, the ranch we use is much more massive, but also gives a show, and the gaucho skills is also included in the price of the tour. A typical tour also in Buenos Aires is the dinner and tango show, going by night to see how to dance tango. And also the dinner is included before the show starts. There are many tango houses in Buenos Aires, so we will for sure offering and suggesting you one in particular, but if you have any other particular tango house on mind, you can ask. And also Buenos Aires is a city for sports and passions. You can also be related with the soccer. If you like the soccer, we can arrange entrance to any of the stadiums in Buenos Aires. And your passenger will be also very related with the traditions and the gastronomy, being a capital city of our country. And here they will find an introduction to a lot of things interesting and information about our country in general. And well, the architecture and art is also some of the highlights during the city tour, because you will find a lot of buildings of interest along the city tour as well. So up to here, some of the our must tours when you stay these 2 or 3 nights in Buenos Aires. Continue with our next destination, again in Argentina. Buenos Aires is located right here. Remember that I told you about Calafate will be our next destination, but firstly I want to explain something. In case we will include in Calafate in our program, before going to Iguazu, we will go to Calafate. Because Buenos Aires is here, we will go to Patagonia area in the south of the country to visit Calafate. And after Calafate, maybe we need to add 1 extra night in Buenos Aires, and after that, continuation to Iguazu. Because from Iguazu, we will continue to our next country. So remember, if we go to Calafate, we will visit Calafate after Buenos Aires and then Iguazu. So Iguazu has a very special location, because here where the city of Puerto Iguazu is located, there is 3 countries converge, Paraguay, Brazil, and Argentina. So it's a very special location. So Iguazu, we go to Iguazu for the waterfalls for sure, because it's one of the most touristical areas and important point of interest in our country. The Iguazu waterfalls are one of the 7 wonders of the new modern world. From Buenos Aires to Iguazu, we have to go by plane in 2 hours. About 2 hours is the flight takes. And remember that because of the location, we can stay even in the Argentina or in the Brazilian side. It's important to mention also that although you will be asking for the visa to visit Brazil, it's important to mention that because of the location, we can stay in the Argentinian side or the Brazilian side. Of course, we'll let you know which are the hotels we are using, and visit on the day and doing during the day a tour to the other country. So you can be crossing to the other country and return to the hotel by the day. So the visa of Brazil and also for Argentina, pay attention, because it has to be of multiple entries, because you can have this situation of having to enter to the country twice. Regarding the climate, it's warm and tropical. Well, here in Iguazu, the most important Chile's attraction are the waterfalls, which also the 2 national parks where the waterfalls are divided between Argentina and Brazil were declared by the UNESCO as one of the World Heritage Sites. The minimum stay is 2 nights. We really don't recommend you stay less because you won't have time to experience the falls in its totality. Another important thing is that, of course, being 2 nights, it will also will depend on the flight times. It's necessary to have a flight arriving early in the morning to take advantage of the first day in Iguazu. And on the following day, in case of 2 nights stay, we will take advantage of a full day tour to the Argentina Falls. We will see now. Another important detail is that because of the location, we have Argentina and Brazil in this area with borders, and the National Park of Iguazu Falls, the national park is divided between Argentina and Brazil. This is why we see the falls in the Argentina and the Brazilian side, to have both experience. But the bigger side of the falls are located in Argentina. So going to our main tours. The main tour, the full day main tour is the Argentinian side of the falls. So we go to the national park to do the full day tour. In the national park, in the Argentinian side, there are different circuits that are done during the tour, just to have different point of view of the falls in the Argentinian side. You have a lower circuit, an upper circuit, and the devil throw circuit. So these pictures over here show you different views from different point of view along the different circuits during the tour. This is a picture from the superior circuit. So the idea is you can have different views from low to high of the falls and experience the falls as much as possible. This is a balcony in the Devil's Throat. This is a very impressive part of the park. The circuit is called Devil's Throat. Even when you have not enough time to visit the park in full, if you need to choose one of the circuits, for sure you will be choosing this one that takes you to the Devil's Throat. This bridge you see over here is the one that takes you to the Devil's Throat, from where you can have this impressive view of this fall. This is the bridge, and up to this point of view to see the Devil's Throat. It's very, very impressive. There is also an optional tour called Great Adventure that we also would like to suggest always. Sometimes it's optional tour because not all the people would like to do it because they can be a little bit scary. But this tour takes you right to the falls. You will be completely wet during this tour. Even you need to change your clothes, so bring some extra clothes with you when you do this tour, because the boat takes you right below to one of the falls, and it's a tour with a lot of adrenaline. So this is why sometimes it's not for everyone, but the people really like and enjoy a lot. You see here how they are approaching to one of the falls. This is the right moment. Well, the other tour is the half-day Brazilian side. Normally it's done on the day we arrive, so this is why it's important to arrive on an early flight, just to take advantage of our minimum 2 nights in Iguazu. So we go to Brazilian side to see the falls in this Brazilian national park. As I explained you, the national park, the falls are divided between Argentina and Brazil. But Brazil, although it has the smaller part of the falls, what is very beautiful to go into the Brazilian side is because from here you can take the panoramic views of the Argentinian falls. So this is very, very interesting, and one of the reasons why you have to go to both sides. In the Argentinian side, to experience the falls right there, right on the side, and in the Brazilian side, just more likely to have panoramic views, although you will be close to some of the falls of the Brazilian side as well, as you can see in this picture over here. This is an optional tour, the helicopter ride, that you can offer. I always suggest you offer this in optional, not included in the program, because it's honestly an expensive tour, so we don't want to increase the price of our program, just offer it as an optional, but give your passenger the possibility to visit. If you would like, you are interested in the Birds Park, it's also an optional to the Brazilian side of the falls. After visiting the Brazilian park, we will go and have a 2-hour visit to the Birds Park. It's a very interesting Birds Park that also gives a plus to the visit to the Brazilian side. And here just a picture only because on the traditional programs it's not included the Jesuits rings. But if at any time you have passengers very interested on the Jesuits, we can consider the idea of going to the Jesuit rings in a full day tour, but for sure you will need minimum 3 nights in Iguazu to have time to do an extra full day tour in Iguazu. So up to here, Iguazu. Continue with El Calafate, our next destination in Argentina. Remember that after Buenos Aires, we will go to El Calafate if it will be included in the program. I really suggest you include El Calafate, but I know that sometimes it's not enough time. But El Calafate is one of our most touristical destinations in Argentina, so we really recommend you having the time to visit El Calafate as well. How to reach Calafate? From Buenos Aires, you need to take a plane again. It's about 3 hours from Buenos Aires, but it's also connected to the south area of Chile because Argentina and Chile are very close in the Calafate area. And so you can arrive sometimes coming from Chile by bus. Today, we are not going to talk about Chile, but just let me explain you that sometimes Calafate is a previous destination before continuing to Chile in other programs that are including this country as well. Well, we go to Calafate to see the Perito Moreno Glacier for sure, but it's one of the main Patagonia destinations. Remember, the south area of Argentina is called Patagonia, so you will see a lot of time the name of Patagonia. Patagonia is the name of the area in the south of Argentina, and El Calafate is one of the main destinations. We really recommend you no less than 2 nights, but it's good if you have 3 nights just to give your passengers the possibility to choose, even if it is optional, another full day tour, because there are many interesting tours in El Calafate you can take. And regarding the high season and the low season, I don't want to miss this. The high season in Calafate, as well as happening in Buenos Aires, goes from October to April, and the low season from May to September. But Calafate can also be visited all year round. But going on high season, of course, because of the weather is much better. But sometimes there are a lot of people, so this is why don't refuse to offer also El Calafate. If you don't care about the low temperature, don't refuse to offer El Calafate in low season, because sometimes can be even a better experience, not too crowded like in summertime. El Calafate, this is a map. El Calafate is the city where our hotel will be located at. And we will go to Perito Moreno in the Los Glaciares National Park. But from El Calafate, you don't see the Perito Moreno, okay? You go from El Calafate to the National Park first, where the Perito Moreno is located. And in this area, there are many other glaciers, because this is Los Glaciares National Park, the Glaciers National Park. There are many other glaciers, and the idea is that you can see along your stay any of the other glaciers in the park. But our main tour is from El Calafate is to go and see Perito Moreno Glacier. So we will see, this is our first tour from El Calafate. This is a full day tour. The main attraction will be, of course, the Perito Moreno Glacier. So you depart from the hotel and arrive to the national park to walk along the paths that are located right in front of the glacier. The Perito Moreno is one of the glaciers that is still growing, so it's a very important detail. It's a very special characteristic of this glacier. And the idea of having this glacier so close of you from the path and can admire from a very close distance is very impressive. And this is why you can stay in the paths, even having your time of walking. The idea is that you can enjoy the glacier, just stay in silence, just admiring such a huge glacier in front of you. Because this is what is it, this tour. It's just to go to the national park to admire this glacier. But we also recommend you, this is optional, that you can add in the program the safari nautical safari. That is one of the optional boat tours that can be done once in the park. It's not included in the regular tour, but you can add with the extra cost of this optional tour, because it will give you a more complete experience of the glacier, because this boat tour will sail very close to the front of the glacier. So you will approach much more from the boat to the glacier. So we really, really recommend you include it in the Perito Moreno full day tour. You also have some other tours, some other alternatives, not included in the conventional program, but you can consider sometimes if you have an FIT and you will be working with us in a tailor-made, it's also possible. Just for you to know, we have the possibility to do a mini trekking. So it's a tour that is combining the visit to the paths in front of the glacier, but also a walk, a mini trekking over the glacier. So it's very, very interesting. The big ice is also an opportunity to walk over the ice, but it's a full day and it's a longer walk in the ice. It's not for everyone. In fact, there are age restrictions. You have to be with good physical conditions, but pay attention. Remember, there are these options also of walking over the ice of the glacier. You have kayak. This option, of course, it's not conventional, it's not in the traditional program, but just for you to know that you can also have the opportunity to do a kayak once in El Calafate. My recommendation is that you stay 3 nights, so we can give a day at leisure if necessary, or include the tour in the program, but give the passenger the opportunity to choose among the other opportunities of tours, interesting tours that can be done in Calafate. Many of these tours are done in boats, but the idea is that you can, from the boat, as I explained you before, also know any of the other glaciers in the park. For example, one of the boat tours is the All Glacier boat tour. It's a full day tour that takes you to see the Uppsala Glacier from the distance, the Sperastini Glacier. So the idea is that you can also see other glaciers, not only the Perito Moreno, that are also interesting. And in this case, give you the opportunity to do a boat tour. So giving the opportunity to do something different, because when you do the Perito Moreno, you will go by bus. These are some pictures of the All Glacier boat tour. There is also the Glacier Gourmand. This is another tour that you can do full day, including boat and the point of view of other glaciers in the national park, but also it includes the lunch. This is the particular of the tour that also includes the lunch on board. Another popular tour, in case you have 3 nights and we can give the chance our passengers to do another full day, is going to the Cristina Ranch, Estancia Cristina. This is a full day tour that is done only on high season, and there are different programs you can choose among. All the programs will include a visit to the ranch. The lunch can be included or not, because it can be with optional cost or not. It depends on you, and depending on the program, depending on the program you choose, the activities that you will have included. You have the classic option, you have the discovery option, that is probably the most interesting one because it takes you to the point of view of the Uppsala Glacier. And also, well, the Estancia Cristina Cañadón de los Fósiles in its Spanish name, but it's also included the trekking. You have horseback riding, so there are different programs you need to check before book the Estancia Cristina, which one is the most interesting for you. Also, if you have time, Estancia Nipepo Aike, the ranch, you can go to any of the ranch close to El Calafate to experience how is the life and how is a local Patagonia estancia. Normally, it's a tour where we have lunch included as well, based on lamb, but again, don't worry if we need a vegetarian menu, always vegetarian menu will be an alternative. And there are many other half-day tours. Sometimes we arrive to Calafate in the morning and have a free afternoon. And if you need a complete day, so we can do some of the half-day tours that are also possible to be done. My recommendation is going to the Glaciarium Museum because it's a museum related to the glaciers and the national parks. So this is a very good introduction if you can do this tour before going to the Perito Moreno, because you will receive a lot of helpful and interesting information before going and see the glacier after. You can go to El Chaltén. Remember, all this tour if you have more time, but if not, we will go into Perito Moreno. This is our must. El Chaltén normally is a destination that is also including programs of trekking program because it's our national trekking capital in Argentina. From El Chaltén, you can take some trekkings, full day trekking, half day trekking, so sometimes an extra stay in El Chaltén is necessary. But this is a different type of program, but I would like to show you also because it's a very popular destination, very close to El Calafate that you can also consider at any time. These are pictures that you can see from any of the trekkings you can done in El Chaltén. So well, up to here, Argentina is much more than what we see today, but I'm just doing a focus, as you know, in the main destinations in our South America programs. So now let's continue with our next country, Brazil, where we will see one city, which is Rio de Janeiro, the main city, touristical city included in our South American programs. Well, Brazil, the capital city is Brasília. It's not Rio de Janeiro, as many can think. The capital city is Brasília. Official language is Portuguese, so you will hear Spanish in Argentina and Peru, but in Brazil you will hear a different language because they speak Portuguese. The currency is the real, and the weather is mainly cálid in the whole country because of the location. But of course, on the north area, the temperatures are hotter, even hotter, and colder in the south. But mainly, this country is cálid. The main airports are Rio de Janeiro. The main airports as port of entry, okay? Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo, as I showed you before. So we can sometimes arrive as our first destination being Rio de Janeiro. I'm showing you, first of all, Buenos Aires, but of course what we are doing can be done in the inverse order. It will all depend on your flights. You have to tell us only into which city you arrive and you depart, and then we arrange the program in the middle. By the way, we can offer you and give you assistance for all the domestic and regional flights if you need. So you need to check and arrange the international flights, and if you need us, we can arrange for you the rest of the flight, the domestic and the regionals, between the cities we will be visiting. Also to Brazil, you need to apply for a visa, so it's very important detail. Well, Rio de Janeiro is a city where we will include culture, history, beaches. Well, in general, in Brazil, it's a country with beaches and nature also. Not all these pictures correspond to Rio de Janeiro, but to Brazil. Now we will talk about Rio de Janeiro in particular. Remember, this is here the city. If we will be doing the tour from Iguazu, probably in the program we are going to go to Peru first and leaving Rio de Janeiro to the end. Sometimes this is the way we do. Sometimes there are programs not including Peru because are shorter programs, and so when we combine only Argentina and Brazil, so we continue to Rio de Janeiro from Iguazu. You have to take a flight that it's more or less 2 hours from Iguazu, from the Brazilian side. So while Rio de Janeiro is called a wonderful city, the Cidade Maravilhosa, this is, well, I'm not speaking Portuguese, but this is kind of the pronunciation of Portuguese, Cidade Maravilhosa. This is like it's usually named to this city. It's the main touristical city and the old capital. Actually, it's Brasilia, as I explained you, but it's no longer Rio de Janeiro, but it was in the past. It's very well known because of the year-end holidays, the carnival. We have 2 airports in Rio de Janeiro, so just pay attention also. For the international flight, for sure, we will use Galea or International, this airport, but we can use also Santos Dumont, which is the domestical, close to the downtown. This airport we can use for the flight, for example, to Iguazu, because it's domestical. But remember, we have 2 airports. The minimum stay is 3 nights, but in our traditional programs, we can do in 2 nights. It's very important, the time of the flight, the arrival and departure, just to have a shorter stay. Well, Copacabana is a world famous beach. We will see some of the highlights following this. And you can also visit Rio de Janeiro all year round. All the destinations we are seeing today can be visited all year round. So again, don't refuse to offer South American programs at any time of the year. This is a little map just to show you quickly a few points of interest. We have Copacabana Beach. We have the Sugarloaf over here, Cristo Redentor, over the Tijuca Forest over here, and we have downtown right here and the domestic airport, Maracana Stadium over here. It's a big city, so I will explain you following this, but it's a big city, so many of the highlights sometimes, not all the highlights in the city will be visited or seen during your stay in Rio de Janeiro. So it's important you mention if you have anything on mind that you would like to include. So we will try to see the best way to include your wishes, your most interesting point of interest along the tour. Corcovado Hill, this is our first tour. It's a half-day tour that we do just to get close to this world famous statue that is the Cristo Redentor in a half-day tour. So the tour basically takes you from the hotel to a basis where you can take any of the possible ways to ascend to the Cristo Redentor, because you have three ways to ascend to the Cristo Redentor: by train, by vans, or by ship. Normally, what we do with our passengers, even if it's group, is going by train. So again, here, if you have a particular FIT that, for example, would like to do in a ship, so something very special, we can do that. If not, for sure, we will do, in case of group, for sure, by train. So you go to, from the hotel, we take you to pick the train, and there is about 20 to 30 minutes trip by train up to the Cristo Redimir. You arrive to a basis. From here, you can see in the picture from where you have some mechanical stairs, some stairs, normal stairs, and you have also elevators that takes you to the bases of the Cristo Redimir. So from here, not only you will be close to the Cristo Redimir, but also you will have a beautiful panoramic views of the city. This is the stair that takes you to the Corcovado. Well, this is a picture of Corcovado at night. But normally the tours are done during the morning. And we try to go on the first train. We try to catch the first train departure early in the morning because it's less crowded, and even will be less crowded in the top of the hill. This is the idea. And remember, the Corcovado Hill is located in the Tijuca Forest. The Tijuca Forest is one of the largest world largest urban forests in the world. So you have beautiful panoramic views of the Tijuca Forest also from the Cristo Redimir. Our next tour is the Sugarloaf. It's also a half-day tour. But sometimes what we do, just if we need to take advantage of our time, is make a combination. We do both tours on the same day and also included a lunch. So we do Corcovado tour and also the Sugarloaf in the same day. And sometimes we can do also any of these tours combining with some of highlights of the city tour, or we can do panoramic city tour with this. So I don't want to confuse you, but this is how normally works in the groups of coming from Asia. They would like to do as much as possible in short stays. So we do both half day, and combining with any of the half day, we can include highlights of the city tour, because normally there is not enough time to do a full city tour. This is the reason. So the Sugarloaf, the visit is done by cable car. You have a cable car in 2 steps. First of all, you arrive to the Urca Hill, and then a second trip to the Sugarloaf. From here also you have panoramic views. This is a panoramic view of the Sugarloaf, not from the Sugarloaf. This is the Sugarloaf. So from the top, you will have very beautiful panoramic views also from for Rio de Janeiro and all the landscapes. This is another panoramic view of the Sugarloaf, not from the Sugarloaf. One chance you can have on mind, if you would like, or if you have a special request anytime, you can also do a trekking up to the Morro da Urca, the Urca Hill, from where then you will take the cable car to Sugarloaf. So continue with the city tour, a half-day city tour. If we have not enough time to do the half-day city tour, the complete half-day city tour, don't worry, because sometimes we do, as I explained you before, a panoramic city tour, and some of the highlights are done during any of the other tours we've seen before. Some of the highlights along a city tour: the Municipal Theater, the Lapa area, the Rio Jatira with this very particular building, the Maracanã Stadium. Be careful, because we are not going to go inside the stadium, although it's possible to arrange guided visits inside. The Maracanã Stadium is a pass by. We see the stadium from outside. Okay, but this is a picture of even of a soccer game in the Maracanã. Copacabana Beach, another beach, of course, of interest in Rio de Janeiro, but Copacabana is the most famous one. Flamingo Park. These are all the highlights in a city tour. Can be included all of this or not. It will all depend on the time. Remember, please. Sambódromo. This is a picture of on a carnival day. Of course, when we pass by the Sambódromo on the city tour, of course, the Sambódromo will be empty, but it's also a pass by during the city tour. This is a picture on a carnival day. There are many other highlights in downtown Rio de Janeiro that can be of your interest. The National Library, the Cultural Center of the Bank of Brazil, the Imperial Palace that was the first governor's residence of the colonial Brazil, Candelaria Church, Rodrigo da Freitas Lagoon. So you have many, many highlights along the city tour. One of the, in my opinion, must on any visit to Rio de Janeiro is to go and see another show at night. It can also offer as an optional tour if you don't want to increase the price of the program. It's not a problem, but try to offer this as optional. It's the Shinga Tropical. It's a show, samba show. That is a tour that takes you from the hotel at night after dinner time. And first of all, you see, you can participate in a samba lesson, and after that, the show starts. It takes around 2 hours and then back to the hotel. Another tour, in case you have more days, because for 2 night stays in Rio de Janeiro, we won't have time to do this, but just for you to consider on any other type of program or ad hoc programs, FIT, special requests, of course, we can work on that also, is the tour Carnival Behind the Scenes, because it takes you to one of the school of carnivals in Rio de Janeiro to get related with the people doing the carnival. So you can see how they prepare the customs, you can see the backstage of their school, and if you go by night, because it's also possible to go in, arrange going by night, you can see how they practice their dances. Of course, we go to one of the school of carnivals that are participated each year in the carnival. That's the idea. And the tourists are really well related with them. As you can see in the pictures during this tour, it's very fun and you can enjoy really a lot. You will be related with all the carnival experience, and they will explain about the history as well. So well, up to here, Rio de Janeiro, remember, just to recap, we are going to do the traditional program, we will do 2 nights, we will go to the Corcovado, we will go to Sugarloaf, and we will see some of the highlights, including the city tour, combining with these tours. If you have any particular request of including any other tour in Rio de Janeiro, so you just let us know and we can work on ad hoc programs as well. Continue with our next country, Peru. This country is, well, another of the country of interest in South America. The capital city is Lima. Over here, the Spanish is the official language. And the climate is diverse because of the location of this country. Depending on the city, we can find desert, mountain, and tropical weathers. The main airports are Lima and Cusco, but the port of entry to the country will be Lima for sure. And you also need to apply for the visa to Peru. Remember also this particular detail. So in Peru, it's a country where we will very well related with culture, a lot of culture, history, archaeology. We will be very related with the Incas culture along our different visits done in Peru. Starting with the capital city, Lima, as you can see, is in front of the Pacific Ocean. Lima is known as the city of kings. This is a very nice view by night in Lima. It's the capital city, as I said before, is on the shores of the Pacific coast. The altitude is very low. Pay attention to this because then we will go in high on altitude and the rest of the visits along Peru. But we start with a low, very low altitude. The average temperature during summer is 25 Celsius degrees. If we coming from Iguazu, normally, this is the order we do. From Iguazu, we will continue to Peru, and then we will leave Rio de Janeiro by the end. If we do that, so from Foz do Iguaçu, the city in the Brazilian side, we can take our plane to Lima. It takes 4 hours. Well, in the city, you will enjoy the gastronomy culture. You can also do shopping in this city. And the average stay is 1 to 2 nights. Normally, in the conventional programs, we will stay only 1 night in Lima. We will do the city tour on the afternoon of the arrival day or on the following morning. So normally, we won't stay more than 1 night. This is to take advantage of Cusco, which is our next destination where we need really more nights. So how, starting with the city tour, because once in Lima, the only tour that we will do in a conventional program, remember that I always explaining, talking about the conventional programs. It doesn't mean that this is not the only thing we can do. The city tour is a half day, and this is the only tour we will do during our stay in Lima. You can see the San Martin Square in downtown, and then we go to the Arms Square, the main square. The Arms Square is the name that you will see of the different main square of cities that are coming from the Spanish colonizers, are usually known as Arms Square, but always related and talking about the main square. This is a picture of the main square. Along the main square, we will visit the government palace, buildings. It doesn't mean that we will go inside these buildings. In general, everything I am showing you during the tours, in the city tour, the different buildings I'm showing you, doesn't mean that you will go inside, okay? So if you want to visit inside, just check with us if the entrance fee will be included, if it's not informed in the program. So the government palace surrounding the main square, also the town hall, the cathedral that is also visited. Normally in the city tour, if open, the cathedral is visited inside. Then we walk from the main square up to the church and convent of San Francisco. So as you can see, a lot of buildings with local architecture coming from colonial season. But we go also to Miraflores. Miraflores is a neighborhood, another district in Lima, which is more modern and elegant, with plenty of park and green spaces. Also facing the Pacific coast is a total different neighborhood that is also visited along the city tour in Lima, and we visit the Del Amor, the Love Park, as you can see in this picture over here, the statue. Near Miraflores area, we have Barranco area, which is the Bohemian part of Lima, where we find this bridge over here that's very popular. Probably you will see it in different pictures of Lima city, which is called the Bridge of Sighs. This is a very nice point of interest in Lima city. And the same happens in Buenos Aires. If you are interested in doing some shopping along the tour, you can choose a shop. You can do some shopping in Buenos Aires, the capital city, Buenos Aires, as well as Rio de Janeiro and Lima. Lima, you have, for example, the shopping at Larcomar. This is the shopping over here. That is an open space. This is a very particular architecture of this shopping. And it's in front of the ocean, and you can see from here also having the view of the cliffs that are so typical of the Lima city. And we can also visit the Huaca Pucllana, that is a ceremonial center coming from the Lima culture. That is also a very interesting point of visit along the city tour. You have the museum Larco Herrera. It's an archaeological museum having a lot of information related with the pre-Columbian season. of Peru. Again, the inside to the museum won't be included, at least you request, or at least it will be informed in the program. But it's a very interesting point of view also. Casa Aliaga, Aliaga House, is also a museum that is operating in a house that the original building was from the colonial epoch, but has been destroyed by an earthquake, and after that has been rebuilt as the building that we can see today. So it's a traditional house representing the colonial season. But again, the entrance is not included unless it's advised and or shown in the program. And our next destination and the last destination of today's webinar is Cusco. Cusco is the city that is about 1 hour and 15 minutes from Lima. So here we need to take one more flight to Cusco. Is known as the Imperial City. And so pay attention, because here we're going high on the altitude. So it's important always you advise your passengers about the altitude we will reach in, because some people need to be prepared. Some people need to know about this if they can be affected by the altitude. It's important to advise. Well, the weather is semi-dry and cold. We have a rainy season which goes from November to March. It's the summertime also, so although the weather is better because it's summer, it's rainy season. So sometimes raining can be something a little bit difficult for some of the tours. Sometimes we receive questions asking us when you suggest me to go to Peru, because high season and summertime is rainy season. So if you would like to go to Machu Picchu and you can decide where to go, I would recommend you the dry season after March, just to try to avoid the rainy and just to be on a safe page to visit Machu Picchu and having a great weather to appreciate the landscape. But again, you can visit all year round, but if you have the opportunity to choose and you don't care about the temperature itself, maybe you can choose traveling outside the rainy season. Well, the airport is Cusco, and as I explained, we have a plane 1 hour 15 to 1 hour 20 minutes from Lima. And here you will be relating and enjoying also the gastronomy and the culture and history and archaeology of the area. And this is our city from where we will get the Machu Picchu, one of our highlights in this program, one of the reasons why you choose to come to South America and visit Peru. And here, 3 nights is the minimum stay we would recommend you, just to see just to do the must tours that we will see following this. So starting with the main tours, remember I recommend you a 3-night stay in Lima, and this is normally what you will see in the conventional programs. We start with the city tour. Sometimes it's done on the arrival day, depending the order of the program. If we arrive during the morning, we will do the city tour on the same arrival day. The idea is to do the city tour in combination with archaeological part to take advantage of our visit to Cusco and the stay we will have. We will be doing the visit to the main square, again, named as Arms Square, surrounded by many buildings of interest, such as the cathedral, the Arch of Santa Clara, San Francisco Church, And then we start our way outside the city, very close to the city. It's not far away, honestly. Maybe can be starting in 2 kilometers outside Cusco. We will find the rest of the highlights we will include it during the city tour. That will take you to be more related with the Inca's culture on the buildings we will be visiting. For example, we will be doing the visit to Coricancha Temple, the Sun Temple, where we found also the Santo Domingo Convent. This is this building in the upper side of the temple. We will continue with Sacsayhuaman. Sacsayhuaman is a very difficult name, even for me it's difficult to pronounce. This is a fortress, an Inca fortress. So you can visit this place and see the huge rocks that has up to 4 meters high that were used to on the construction of this fortress, but also the landscape is totally different. We are, as you can see, we are no longer in the city center, so the landscape and the environment over here is very, very beautiful during the visit to this place. So as you can see, arriving to Cusco, you have, of course, previous information in Lima, but once you arrive to Cusco, you'll be very related with the archaeology, the culture of the Incas, and the tour for sure will become much more cultural since the time you arrive to Peru. Another point of interest along this city tour and archaeological park tour is the visit to Kenco. Kenco is another archaeological complex that unfortunately has been destroyed a lot after with the Spanish colonizers, but we still can be able to see some of the rocks constructions that cannot be destroyed by the colonizers, such as this one you see over here in the picture, which is an altar of sacrifice that has been built in the inner part of a rock. We continue to Puca Pucará. Be careful with this because normally it's included as a panoramic view, not going inside. You can see from the distance the Pucará Pucará. This is a watchtower that has been used to control the access to the city. If you are interested of include the entrance, so you have to let us know or just pay attention in the program if the entrance will be included or not, because sometimes it's a panoramic view only. We will visit Tambo Machay, where we will appreciate these fountains, of course, of the Inca period, fountains of health and life. And up to here, this is what we will do in our city tour with archaeological part. No, my recommendation is not doing only the city tour, so the highlights in the city downtown, but also combined with all these other archaeological sites I was showing you just to take advantage of our time of Cusco. And also because it will be very good to give you an introduction to what we will continue seeing the rest of the trip up to arrive to the Machu Picchu, which will be our final destination. On the following day, remember, if we stay 3 nights here, so the first day we will do the city tour, on the following day we will do in the Sacred Valley, Pisac Market, and Ollantaytambo tour in a full day. In this map over here, I would like to show you, departing from Cusco, we will go to Pisac. This is the Sacred Valley. There are many other points of interest, many other locations that can be visited in the Sacred Valley that won't be included in today's tour, but Sacred Valley has much more to offer and can be experienced much more if we have more time. Sometimes accommodation is included in the Sacred Valley, but in this case, we are going to see it as a full day tour up to arrive to Ollantaytambo. And pay attention also to the map because Ollantaytambo is our train station from where we will take the Machu Picchu train on the following day. So check this, because from Ollantaytambo we will go on the following day to Machu Picchu. But today we will do this tour, this part of the Sacred Valley in this tour. So our first stop is Ahuanacancha, that is it's an exhibition center of the textiles done by the Camelids. It's also kind of a live museum because you can appreciate the South American Camelids over here. And the idea is that you can get related with the textiles. There are showroom for you if you want to buy something as well. And the idea is that you can get related with the traditional process of the weaving and how the local residents are doing the garments. We continue with the Pisac market. It's a local market. It's a very famous local market. There are many markets along the itinerary, but the Pisac market is one of the most traditional one. So here the idea is that you can also see many handcrafts made by the local people living there. They are doing their own handcraft, and you can, you have free time to just see the market and see if you would like to buy something, see the products the residents are doing by themselves. After the Pisac market, we will do the lunch. We will be including the lunch. If the lunch is not included, we will have anyway a stop for lunch. I know that normally your programs include full board, so for sure the lunch will be part of the program, but the lunch will be taken before arrive to Ollantaytambo, which is our next and final destination in this day tour. Ollantaytambo is a typical example of the urban planning of the Incas. Even here, the people living here is still very well related with all the previous way of life of the Incas. They are trying to keep this alive again with them. And this place that we will visit as our final destination on this tour is an archaeological complex. And it's very, very interesting. And it's really one of the most important archaeological complex of the Incas, Ollantaytambo. So you have time to have the visit. As you can see here, people over here, they are doing the visit of part of this archaeological complex. And after finish the visit to Ollantaytambo, we return to our hotel in Cusco. And on the following day, and this is our last tour of today, we will do the visit to Machu Picchu, which is one of the highlights, including with the other highlights along the program in Argentina and Brazil, but for sure, this is one of the most important highlights along the program, and one of them, if it's not, yes, it is the most important one, touristical attraction in Peru. So we visit the Machu Picchu with the train. The train will be always included. What we need to see is to check which train we will be using, because there are 3 trains that we can be using, called Expedition, Vistadon, and Irambingam. Normally in the programs, you can find the Vistadon train or sometimes the Expedition, because it's cheaper, and sometimes, if necessary, a cheaper option, we can use this. But if not, normally we use the Vistadon. It's a full day tour. We depart from Cusco to take to the train station to take the train to Machu Picchu. You need to know that we have 2 train stations where we can take the train. Depending on the departure day, we can operate the Poroy station or not. If not, the train will depart from Ollantaytambo. The difference is that Poroy station is close to the city, so you have a longer ride of train, and Ollantaytambo, as I show you in the map, is the station in the Sacred Valley. So you have a longer bus up to the train station and a shorter train ride. The train operators are Peru Rail and Inca Rail. And there are 3 services I was telling you. Irambingan is the deluxe train. If you depart from Corona Station, the train takes 3 hours and a half up to Machu Picchu. And if you depart from Ollantaytambo, because we are closer to Machu Picchu, the train ride is 1 hour and 30 minutes. Depending on the train, anyway, is more or less the same. The duration of the trip of the train is more or less the same, even if it is this train or any of the other ones. These are some pictures of the Vista Dome, this other service we used to include in the programs. And we also have the expedition. And the Inca Rail, this is the other operator that also serves from Ollantaytambo station. This is the other option of the train we have. Even, for example, in this train, the Inca Rail, there are also about 4 types of services inside the train. So we will explain you at time of the program, because today we are not going to talk about the details of the differences of the trains, but just for you to know, of course, the prices can be different and the service included inside the train, but also the train itself are different. These are the difference of the different trains we can find. So we take the train. After the train ride, we will arrive to the Machu Picchu station, close to Aguascalientes town, which is the closest town to the Machu Picchu. We arrive to the train station. We stay in Aguascalientes, which is this town. This town is very small, but we find a few hotels, restaurants, and some shops. And Aguascalientes is the town from where we will go to take the bus that will take us up to the hill where Machu Picchu is found. So as you can see, we need to, after arrive with the train, take the bus, and the bus will take you up to the hill, to the Machu Picchu Citadel entrance. We need to ascend in a bus about 30 minutes up to the top of the hill and to the end, up to the entrance of the Machu Picchu. Once you arrive to the Machu Picchu, you have a few minutes just to use restrooms, and then the guided tour starts, and it takes 2 hours and 45 minutes. You won't stay more than 3 hours in Machu Picchu on this full day tour. And then you have to return, and probably the lunch can be done in the Aguascalientes town. It will depend on the program, but we will return. We have our lunch time before return to the train station for our way back to Cusco. In the same way we arrive, we return. So here you have some pictures of Machu Picchu. Well, what can I say? The pictures talk by themselves. Machu Picchu is one of the 7 wonders of the modern world. Machu Picchu is the lost city of the Incas. And during the guided visit, you will have the opportunity to visit all the different areas in this Machu Picchu city. Different ceremonial sanctuaries, terraces, stairs, urban zones. You can walk along the ruins, and the guide will explain you all about the history and the ruins. It's a very beautiful and amazing tour, and hopefully you can have a very nice day, as you can see in the picture, just to enjoy the landscape and see everything surrounding the Machu Picchu in the best way as possible. So over here, some pictures about Machu Picchu. All you can see, and it's a very impressive tour, of course. Same as happens when we go to Perito Moreno, we go to Iguazu Falls. So this is very good when we do a combined program with more than one country, and will include one of the most important touristical attraction in each country. So well, up to here, our webinar with South America. I really hope you have enjoyed and you have learned about South America destinations. I have to say again that South America is much more than what we see today, but this is the idea for you to have an introduction of the highlights and the most important destinations included in our program. For sure, you can count on us, on our company, in case you would like to work on any other program in South America, including any other country and destination. We can always work in a tailor-made if necessary. It's not a problem for us, but I really hope you can enjoy and you can see you can learn about this first main destinations. And we invite you to follow us on our social media, on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. And of course, this you can see our YouTube channel. We invite you to see our YouTube channel because this webinar, as well as other previous one, has been recording, so you can see at any time in our YouTube channel any of our interesting webinars. And I really hope you can enjoy, and we really hope we can see you on the next webinar done by Eurotour.